I'll never forget the first time I used Tinder. It was back in 2015, during winter break, when everyone was home from college. I was in between relationships, feeling a bit bored, and figured it was the perfect time to try out the app everyone had been talking about. I had heard stories, both good and bad, but I was curious to see what it was all about for myself. It was around 8 or 9 p.m. on a Thursday night, prime time for activity on the app, as I'd later come to realize. I downloaded Tinder onto my phone and got to work setting up my profile, something I hadn't done in a long time. The process of choosing the right photos was surprisingly challenging. I spent about 10 minutes sifting through my photo albums, trying to pick out the ones that would show me in the best light. I wanted photos that were flattering but also genuine, the kind that would make someone stop and take a closer look. After much deliberation, I settled on 4 pictures that I thought would catch people's attention. One was a candid shot from a beach trip with friends, another was a photo from a hockey game I played at Penn State, and the others were just casual pictures where I thought I looked good. Next came the part I dreaded the most, writing my bio. I knew from what I'd heard that guys were supposed to come up with something witty and funny, something that would make them stand out. But I've never been the type to craft clever one-liners, so I just wrote a few basic things about myself. That I was 6 feet tall, played hockey at Penn State, and loved working out. It wasn't much, but it felt authentic to who I was, and I hoped that would be enough. With my profile finally set up, I started swiping right on just about everyone, curious to see how many matches I could get. I wasn't looking for anything serious, just testing the waters to see how this whole thing worked. I went through my 100 likes faster than I expected, but to my dismay, I didn't get a single match. With each swipe that yielded no results, my confidence took a bigger hit. I had always thought of myself as decent looking, and it was a bit of a blow to see no one matching with me. As the minutes ticked by without any notifications, I started to feel more and more defeated. I began to wonder if maybe I wasn't as attractive as I thought, or if I'd somehow done something wrong in setting up my profile. The doubts crept in, and I was about to delete the app to save what was left of my self-esteem when finally my phone buzzed. A notification appeared on the screen. "Congratulations, you have a new match." My heart skipped a beat, and I quickly reopened the app, eager to see who had swiped right on me. To my surprise and excitement, I had matched with one of the most gorgeous girls I'd seen on the app. Her name was Ashley, and she looked like she had just stepped out of a modeling shoot. She had 4 photos on her profile. One in a bikini with friends at the beach, another with 2 girls kissing her on either cheek, one where she was leaning casually against a brick wall, and a final one that seemed to be taken at a college frat party. She was 20 years old, just like me, and she attended Syracuse University. Feeling a mix of excitement and nerves, I decided to start the conversation with a simple "hey." To my amazement, she responded almost immediately with, "Hey cutie." I was taken aback by how quickly she replied and how forward she was. Encouraged, I tried to think of something clever to say next, eventually mentioning her sorority and that I had a friend in the same one at my school. It wasn't the most original line, but it was all I could come up with in the moment. Once again, her response was nearly instantaneous. "OMG, that's so cool." I was in the middle of typing my next message when she sent another one. "You're so cute and so close. What are you doing tonight?" My excitement grew as I realized this conversation was moving faster than I could have anticipated. I replied, "Just watching Elf, pretty exciting stuff. Trying to keep things lighthearted and fun." She quickly replied, "OMG, no way, me too. You should come over and we can watch it together." I couldn't believe my luck. This girl was not only incredibly attractive, but also seemed genuinely interested in hanging out. I agreed without hesitation and asked for her number. She gave it to me right away, and I waited a minute before texting her, so I wouldn't come off as too eager. When I sent the message, I noticed it went through as a regular text rather than an iMessage, which meant she wasn't using an iPhone. But I brushed it off and texted, "Hey," to which she replied, "Hey, come now," along with an address. The address she gave me was only about 5 miles from my house, a 10-minute drive at most. It was close enough that I figured, why not? Before leaving, I mentioned to my mom that I was heading out and then hopped in my car, excited and a bit nervous. The address was in a quieter part of town, a residential area that I wasn't too familiar with, the kind of place where the streets are lined with large trees and the houses are spaced out, giving each one a sense of isolation. When I pulled up to the house, something about the scene felt off. There were two cars in the driveway, which set off a small red flag in my mind. I wasn't sure why, but it made me uneasy. I texted her, saying I was there, and she responded with, "Cake. Go around back. The front door is loud." The unease grew, but I figured maybe she didn't want to wake her parents or roommates, so I didn't think too much of it. As I got out of the car and started walking around the house, the feeling of something being off only intensified. There was a window on the side of the house, and as I passed it, I noticed the blinds were slightly open, as if someone had been peeking through them. But as soon as I noticed, the blinds quickly fell back into place, like someone had let go of them. My heart rate picked up, and I texted her again, asking if that had been her at the window. No response. I continued walking slowly towards the backyard, trying to make sense of what I was feeling. I heard faint noises that made me even more nervous, like the sound of a chair scraping against concrete and the rustle of leaves. It was the kind of sound that makes your skin crawl because you're not sure if it's just your imagination or something more sinister. I was so on edge that I froze at the corner of the house, too scared to turn the corner into the backyard. When I finally mustered the courage to peek around the corner, I saw that the backyard appeared empty. There was no one there, no lights on in the house, and the sliding glass door at the back was slightly ajar. The darkness of the house seemed to swallow up any sense of safety I had left. Something was definitely wrong, but I couldn't quite put my finger on it. I decided I would text her one more time, and if she didn't respond, I would leave. I typed, "I'm at the back door, where are you?" Within seconds, she responded, "Come in." The unease in my stomach turned into a knot of anxiety. Everything about this felt wrong, but I couldn't understand why. I wasn't comfortable entering that house, so I decided to call her instead. When I dialed the number, the screen showed text no audio call, which meant she was using an app to text and call from a fake number. The realization hit me like a ton of bricks. This wasn't who she said she was. And the most chilling part of it all was when I heard the sound of a ringtone coming from right behind the glass door. I looked closer and saw the faint glow of a phone screen, confirming that someone was hiding just inside. My heart pounded in my chest as I realized the danger I was in. I didn't run. Instead, I tried to stay calm, walking back around the house the way I had come to avoid being seen. My footsteps were slow, deliberate, as I tried not to make any noise. The silence of the night felt oppressive, like the darkness was pressing down on me. Once I was out of sight, I sprinted to my car, the fear pushing me to move faster than I ever had before. When I finally reached my car, I locked the doors and took a moment to catch my breath. My hands were shaking, and my mind was racing with thoughts of what could have happened if I had gone inside. But the fear only intensified when I checked my phone and saw 15 new messages waiting for me. About a dozen of them were asking why I had left, where I had gone, and urging me to come back. But the last three were the most disturbing. The first message read, "I'm not actually a 20-year-old girl, but I'm sure you figured that out by now." My blood ran cold as I read the words. The next message was even worse. "No laws were broken, lol. Good luck." And the final message sent a chill down my spine. "I know exactly what you look like, and I have your number." I immediately blocked the number and went to report and unmatched the person on Tinder, but they had already unmatched me. The whole experience was like something out of a nightmare, the kind of thing you hear about, but never think will happen to you. Thankfully, I never received any more messages or calls from anyone suspicious, and I was able to move on from the incident, though it took some time. I've used Tinder a few times since then, but only for fun, never seriously trying to meet up with anyone from the app again. The whole experience left a lasting impression on me, a reminder that not everyone is who they seem to be online. If you've made it this far, you're 100% a horror fanatic and we approve. If you love our campfire-themed horror storytelling experience, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on our daily uploads. A few months ago, I was swiping through Tinder out of boredom. I wasn't looking for anything serious, definitely not a relationship. I was just curious to see who might match with me and maybe have some pointless chats to pass the time. There was always the slim chance that someone might want to meet up for the night, but I wasn't expecting much. Unfortunately, this particular night turned out to be anything but lucky. As I swiped through the first 20 or so profiles, I was surprised by how many matches I got. The matches came in quickly, and I sent out a few corny pickup lines to the ones I found most attractive. But there was one girl who stood out, Michelle, a 23-year-old blonde who was absolutely stunning, almost unrealistically so. The fact that she messaged me first was intoxicating, especially since I was already a little buzzed. Her profile picture showed her with a bright smile, her blonde hair cascading down her shoulders, and a look that was both inviting and mysterious. Michelle was close by, just a few miles away, and our conversation quickly turned flirty. Feeling confident, I decided to push the boundaries a bit and turn the conversation more suggestive. To my surprise, she seemed to be on the same page, responding with equal enthusiasm. Soon, I got her number, and we started texting, the conversation flowing effortlessly. I suggested we meet up that night, thinking we could hang out, have a few drinks, and see where things went. She was eager to, but she wanted to meet at a small park near her house first before going back to her place. I found it a bit odd, but I didn't question it. The park she mentioned was a small residential one, tucked away in a quiet neighborhood. It was the kind of place you might take a dog for a walk during the day, but at night, it had a different vibe. I wasn't familiar with the area, but I figured it was safe enough. I counted the minutes until it was time to leave, growing more excited and a bit nervous as the time approached. Around 9:45, I sent a quick text to confirm she was still down to meet, and she responded saying she was. The drive to this small park was only about 10 minutes, so I got there a little early and headed to the swing set where she said she wanted to meet. The park was almost completely dark, with only a single light mounted on a small bathroom shack providing any illumination. The swings creaked as they swayed gently in the wind, and the surrounding trees cast long, eerie shadows. I didn't want to seem too eager, so I waited until exactly 10:02 to text her that I had arrived. I was expecting a quick response, but instead, I was met with silence. As the minutes ticked by, my excitement began to wane, replaced by a growing sense of unease. 10:05, 10:10. I sat there, waiting, my initial excitement now turning into frustration. At first, I thought she might be driving and couldn't check her phone, but as more time passed, it seemed more likely that she had flaked on me. The park was eerily quiet, surrounded by trees, and being a weeknight, there was no one else around. The only light came from the motion-activated light on the bathroom shack, which flickered on and off with the slightest movement. The silence was unsettling, and the longer I sat there, the more I began to feel like I wasn't alone. I pushed myself back and forth on the swing, the creaking sound of the chains echoing through the park. Suddenly, I froze. The creaking stopped, and I heard a noise coming from the direction of the bathroom shack. It was a faint sound, like someone pressing down on the handle of a paper towel dispenser, a sound that seemed out of place in the otherwise silent park. I thought the bathrooms in parks like these were usually locked at night, so who could be in there at this hour? Before I could think too much about it, my phone buzzed in my pocket. I quickly pulled it out, expecting an apology from Michelle for being late. Instead, the text read, "Hey, just got here. Come into the bathroom. I have a surprise for you." My heart sank as I read the message. This wasn't the kind of excitement I was hoping for. The unease I've been feeling turned into full-blown anxiety, and my mind raced with thoughts of what could be happening. I hesitated, unsure of how to respond, and then another text came through. "Get off the swing and come here." I looked up from my phone and my eyes locked onto the bathroom building. My breath caught in my throat as I saw a figure, a fraction of a face, peeking out from behind the entrance of one of the bathrooms. It was only visible for a split second before it disappeared back into the shadows. But that was all I needed to see. I couldn't tell if it was a man or a woman, but I knew something was very wrong. The fear that had been creeping up on me now gripped me fully. I quietly got off the swing and started to back away from the playground, trying not to make any noise. My heart pounded in my chest as I moved slowly, every instinct telling me to run. but I didn't want to make any sudden movements that might draw attention. When I felt like I was far enough away, I turned and sprinted back to my car, the fear of someone chasing me, pushing me to move faster than I ever had before. The run back to my car felt like it lasted forever, each step filled with the terror that I might hear footsteps behind me. When I finally reached my car, I fumbled with the keys, my hands shaking as I tried to unlock the door. The relief I felt when I finally locked myself inside was overwhelming, but it was short-lived. As I sat there, trying to catch my breath, I looked back toward the park and saw a figure emerge from the trees, running towards my car. Panic surged through me, and I started the engine, barely managing to put the car in drive before speeding off. I didn't look back until I was halfway down the road, and by then, there was no one in sight. When I pulled into my driveway, I sat there for what felt like an eternity, trying to process what had just happened. My hands were still shaking, and my mind was racing with thoughts of what could have happened if I had gone into that bathroom. I felt like I had narrowly escaped something terrible, and it left me shaken to my core. That night changed me. It made me realize just how fragile life can be and how easily things can take a dark turn. I deleted my Tinder account that night and removed the app from my phone, wanting nothing more to do with it. I didn't tell my family about what had happened, only confiding in my older brother, who was just as disturbed by the story as I was. Fortunately, I've been in a relationship for the past 2 months, so I don't have to think about using that app ever again. But even now, months later, I still think about that night. The memory lingers in the back of my mind, a reminder of how close I came to something terrifying. It's a lesson I won't forget, and it's made me much more cautious about who I trust and how I approach situations like that. The world can be a scary place, and sometimes the things we take for granted, like a simple date, can turn into something much more dangerous.